At a time when the 2A movement is growing, legislators in Sacramento seek to hijack a process to get new gun owners propaganda, letting them know how awful firearms are. This is Senate Bill 248. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel today. As the docket continues to build up in the legislature, on deck is Senate Bill 248. After reading it, it kind of looks like the government wants to send you some propaganda. So to walk us through it today, we have brought back the legislative director of CRPA. He's also the host of Firing Line Radio. You can catch him every Saturday at 1 p.m. on AM 590 The Answer. That, of course, is Rick Travis. Rick, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into it today, guys, please, as always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. With bills like this, they're going to need advocacy against them. We want as much advocacy as we can possibly get, and we can get it through getting this message out far and wide. And you can help by subscribing and liking and sharing the video. So please do that if you haven't already. So let's dive into this. The Legislative Digest for Senate Bill 248. Jacob, if you can pull it up, it reads like this. Existing law requires any sale, loan, or transfer of a firearm to be processed through a licensed firearms dealer. Existing law exempts from the requirement certain transfers such as those made by a gift, bequest, interstate succession, and I mean that essentially means moving from out of state to California, or operation of law, among others. Existing law requires a person who receives a firearm pursuant to these provisions to submit to the Department of Justice a report as prescribed by the department, prescribing the firearm and providing personal information. Existing law requires that fees charged by the department for processing of these forms be deposited to the deal of records sale or the dealer's record of sale special account, which is available upon appropriation by the legislature to offset certain costs relating to the regulation of firearms, among other things. This bill would, beginning July 1st, 2027, require the department to mail to any person who notifies the department, pursuant to the above described reports of firearms transactions, a letter that includes certain information relevant to firearms ownership, such as information on how to legally transfer or relinquish a firearm and resources regarding gun violence restraining orders, among others. The bill would state that the dealer's record of sale special account may, upon an appropriation by the legislature, be used for this purpose for any cost associated with the law's implementation. Holy cow, Rick. If you can, go ahead and break down this mumbo jumbo. What exactly is it that this law would be targeting, and subsequently, what would it be doing to those it targets?
So there's 3 points I'll make on this bill. Number one, go back to that DROS special account, which is the dealer record of sale. That's what we all pay for. That account is already being overused. So to add another program to it, and Kevin, you and I have talked in previous videos, take the apps to armed prohibited person systems, where we have over 25,000 known felons with firearms. Why does DOJ say they can't go? Because they can't afford to go after them, because there's not enough money in the DROS special account. And so here's yet another bill of like, let's deplete an account that's already depleted, even more so, because that'll keep criminals on the street. But more importantly, what I think people have to realize is, firearms dealers, places where we intersect the firearm community, we are already teaching and educating people on proper storage. We teach them and educate them on the issues surrounding suicides, gun violence. We talk to them about everything you need to do to transfer a firearm. Now, the interesting thing with DOJ is, we'll start with the interstate travel. There is nothing in California, not just in our area. California, when you move, there's a lot of laws that you wouldn't have in other states in the West or the Midwest or even the back East. So as a result, when you come here, it's very easy for you to make a mistake and break a law because you flat out didn't know. Notice there's nothing in this bill that says how they're going to communicate that to people coming in. But the part that really irritates me on this bill, and this bill irritates me across the board, but I want you to think of the first two things that's for: gifts and bequests. Let's be honest. Most people are going to gift a firearm when they know they're near their end of life. And they want a family member or a close friend to have it because it's kind of like they want to enjoy seeing them get it. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and then that becomes a bequest, meaning you've already left the planet. and now it's being moved, which means the recipient in both those cases is in an emotionally vulnerable location. Some of those people may not be firearms owners. I know there's a lot of us who are like, oh, I can't wait to inherit, and then whoever's firearms in our family. But there are many people that like that's an iconic part of their family, but they don't hunt or they haven't been shooting at a shooting range for 25 years. Now they receive this. They're emotionally not where they would normally be. Let's just be upfront and honest. They're moved by this gift, and all of a sudden, this gift comes with a new gift from the state of California that says basically, Kevin, do you? I mean, it sounds like one of those ends of an infomercial. You realize accepting of this gift could cause the following issues, and then they blurt out all these things to fearmonger and scare people. So they're like, yeah, I don't want this gift. I'll turn it over to somebody else. That's the true purpose of this. This is like so many bills. I always ask the question to these authors. I'm like, so tell me, what's the problem? What's the big issue? Because public policy is about solving issues. So, what issues been happening when people have inherited a gun? Absolute silence. When people have been gifted a firearm? Absolute silence. But yet, we're going to put together a bill that's going to put together $1 million plus program the way this state does stuff. That's going to take from an account that's already being overdrawn.
Well, yeah, let's actually focus on that for a second. The DROS special account. We just did a video recently where you were criticizing the fact that these elected officials seem like they can spend the same $10 100 different ways, and it's just not really applicable to the way that money works. You said that the DROS special account was drained already. So I guess two sides to this question. Why do we continue to see it? And if the answer is they don't care, then the answer is they don't care. But why do we continue to see them trying to spend money that we all know they don't have? And then on the other end of that, does that kind of make the bill easier to defeat?
Okay, so in reverse order, most of the time, yes, it does make it easier to defeat. But what we're seeing the left do right now, that finances are bad and they're having to come up with literally this last week over $6 billion in loans just for one program, and there's multiple programs in that situation, is they create a crisis. So what they do is they overtask an account, like the DROS account, for example. And then what you'll hear is all of a sudden, probably the attorney general coming out going, oh my gosh, we can't go after these armed criminals on the armed prohibited person system because we don't have enough money. Therefore, we need to raise the fees on gun owners and gun transactions. And their justification will be because, well, we've got to get these off the streets and everybody wants that, and try to paint us as a community in a corner of not supporting that. When in fact, what they did was they created so many programs that were unnecessary, were egregious against law-abiding citizens, just so they could raise the fees to discourage more firearms ownership. That's their cycle, and that's the cycle we're fighting to break.
Well, hopefully we can break it soon. We're going to be advocating against this bill, obviously. I'm curious, though. I feel like you've made a little bit of an illustration towards this already, but just so that we can have an idea from reading it, what's the actual application here? We've kind of talked about the people that it would be targeting, the fact that they'd probably be in some situations in a vulnerable state. What actually happens to somebody who receives or brings or purchases a firearm? How do they receive it, and what would they receive from the government?
So, and we're not really sure how they intend to do this because there's not really a true mechanism for it. But let's just take it. When my grandfather passed away a little over, a decade ago, or if my dad was to pass away, both of them had firearms. So say a couple of those are coming my way. Under this, the idea would be, say my dad passes, a couple of his firearms that I want come to me through the will. His attorney's in another state, so probably wouldn't know the laws here in California. Those would be transferred over to me. I'd be like, great, I'm receiving them. But now comes a different problem. The problem comes of, well, how's the state know that that happened? Because there's nothing that's going to come from the state of Texas that says, oh, by the way, Rick, you have to register these firearms. So this is another way to try to encourage people to do that. But if for some reason, in this case, I'm a law-abiding person, I know the rules, so I now go tell the state of California, I fill out the form, I fill out the money, this came to me, I send all the paperwork in. Now what I'm going to get in the mail first is the thing that says, do you understand the gun laws? Well, obviously I do because I just filled out the forms in Senate. So again, why do we need a program that does that? But then it's going to tell me here are all the harms that could possibly happen to you. Now, if you're well informed like myself, you're going to be like, this is stupid. Why am I getting this? I already know this. But if you're not that informed because you haven't been in this community for a while, you're going to be made to feel like what you've just got as a gift from your loved one is like the most poisonous pill in society. And that's by design, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think that's where the rubber meets the road is the opportunity for them to basically propagandize a system that they require just when somebody receives a firearm. So, the legislature is heating up on this. What is there to look forward to, and what are your final thoughts on the bill as far as the process is concerned?
Well, my final thought is the talking point this way. There are iconic movies, TV shows, and stuff where a young person has received a gift after the passing of like a grandparent. So in those days, in those films, what you saw is mom or dad sitting down and saying, here's this iconic gift. But now imagine a world where the person says, here's this iconic gift, but you don't want this iconic gift from your grandfather because they had no idea that it came with all these harms to the world. That does two things. It discourages the gift, but it also paints a picture of the person who passed away that gave that gift as them not being a good person. And so that's a talking point you need to put out there to your friends and family and coworkers. Government doesn't have the right to do that. That's called propaganda. And there are laws against that. And that's one of the reasons we're fighting this, both on a budgetary standpoint, on this is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist standpoint, and this is propaganda and it's evil.
Absolutely, and we will be advocating. If you're subscribed, you'll certainly be seeing the emails going out for when this hits committee. We're going to want to tell our legislators that we do not want this to pass. Rick, I know that you're a busy guy. I want to thank you for coming on with us today. Keep up the good work in Sacramento, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, Kevin.
Absolutely. And guys, if you like videos like this and you want to continue seeing them, if you want the information to get as far and wide as possible, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the videos. It really helps get the information out there. And after all, we're trying to garner as much advocacy as we can against all of these bills that have just come out. So please, it does help. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you on the next one.